Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Kazu here. Today we're going to be looking at a combat comparison of a vanilla versus SkySA versus ABR, which is attack behavior revamp for those of you who don't know. Now, both SkySA and ABR are very popular attack mods or combat behavior mods available on the Nexus, as well as the Skyrim Guild, which is a new site by Distar and friends to have access to a bunch of really awesome, combat and animation mods and the like. So make sure to check that out. But anyhow, we're gonna get into a comparison here. I'm showing the vanilla light attacks and power attacks on screen as a baseline. So, I mean, I'm sure everyone's familiar with these attacks and their animations in third person. We're going to be looking at it both from a first person and third person perspective to see, what is something that you might be interested in when it comes to these combat mods. Now, currently we're going to be showing just the vanilla combat. This clip will be in third person. And I do have the Eve ice skating removal of the vanilla attack animations. So that kind of helps with the vanilla attacks looking stupid as hell with the ice skating. It removes pretty much all of that by tying the player movement, attack movement, to the body and allowing the legs to be free. However, due to the fact that there's no attack commitment, you could add it with mortal enemies, but there's no mortal enemies in this current listing. Due to the fact that there is no attack commitment that locks the player in place, it's pretty hard to actually aim and keep distance in your hits and using the vanilla attack animations, as you can see here. I'll definitely attack short sometimes, or I'll be judging my distance improperly. Using sword and shield, we're going to just be going for bashes for the most part. The dodge is from Ultimate Combat. So in terms of third-person combat with vanilla, I'd say the animations are actually acceptable. I don't mind them, especially with the ice skating removal of the vanilla animations. They actually look pretty decent. That being said, the combat in third person still feels really bad using vanilla animations, and I don't recommend it. But for first person, it's actually highly recommended. The enemies currently have their combat styles based upon Wildcat, which is a combat mod. And then, of course, the gameplay mechanics are from Requiem. So here you're going to see first-person gameplay inside Evershar Mine. And one thing to note is that due to the combat style changes from Wildcat, enemies will power attack quite frequently. And they actually have rotation on their power attacks so that they track you. The rotation is added by 3B tweaks. And it's actually increased from the vanilla values. So even though this is Wildlander, there's no mortal enemies. We're still using Wildcat, but we have 3 tweaks for the combat changes. Of course, the first-person animations are not from any of these combat behavior mods I mentioned. It's actually first-person combat animations overhaul, FPCAO, which is available on the Nexus. In first person, it's a lot easier to judge distance, at least for me. And really, you want to be staying out of enemy power attack range. You can either sidestep, dash through, or bash enemies who are going to power attack. So you can see here, I dash through the attack. Even though they have tracking, if you move fast enough when you're dashing, you can get through their flank without them rotating in time, like that. And of course, we just bash cancel for the kill. And that's it with vanilla. So here we can see what is going to be ABR. And one thing I would like to showcase, this is going to be the one-handed animations. So for the one-handed animations, it's going to be a 5-hit combo. And then here you can see the charged attack. So if you press the Alt button while you have ABR installed, you can switch to charge attacks. When you're holding the left mouse button, it will now have a charged animation, which is what you're seeing. If you let go of the left mouse button, my bad, then it'll unleash the charged attack. And you can orient it in a direction. Once it's in that position, you can only rotate, you can't move. But initially when you charge your attack, you can move in a direction still, like so. And then once here, you're locked in place. There's a nice little dash when you're performing this charge attack. And that is a feature exclusive to ABR. No other combat mod has this kind of mechanic. At least that I know of. So these are the regular forward powered attacks. That's what happens when you press the button again and you turn off the charge attacks. If you press shift, we switch to two-handed attacks. So this is purely aesthetic. It's not like CGO where you can hold a two-handed greatsword and then switch to one-handed and then cast a spell with it offhand. No, this is really just for aesthetics. It's pretty cool to have. It's a nice feature, but it doesn't actually do anything in terms of gameplay. Now another thing to note is the dual wield animations. So something kind of specific and unique to ABR is that when you have two weapons, the left mouse bumper is going to be associated with right hand attacks, and the right mouse bumper is going to be, I don't know why I'm saying bumper, button. The right mouse button is going to be associated with left-handed attacks. So you can actually combo between the two. And then if you press both the buttons at once, you do the dual attacks, which you can see here in a 3-hit combo. Now, it's pretty similar for unarmed. You have the right hand punches and the left hand punches. If you press both of the mouse buttons, you will not do a dual attack, but if you hold them, you will perform a 3-hit power attack. The animations are alright for unarmed. Again, for ABR, you can swap out any of these animations with AMR related ones. So you can actually convert SkySA ones to AMR and then add those into ABR. They're not going to quite have the exact same motion data and hit frames, but they should work pretty well. And now we're going to cut to ABR gameplay. The armor set we're using here is from the BDOR Complete Collection. The armor from previous was actually from the BDOR Nova set. So you can see the one-handed animations. They're actually not bad. And these gentlemen are fighting here, so I'm going to politely interrupt their fight. Here you'll be able to see some of the ABR attack animations. They're very varied, and there's actual very specific conditional folders for the types of NPC attacks. So that's a regular power attack. They still have access to power attacks and directional power attacks. They also have attacks like that, where they have gap closers, as well as combos. I wouldn't say the animations are the nicest, unfortunately. No slight to Audrey, I really do love all of his mods. But there definitely could be something left to be desired when it comes to the specific ABR attack animations. ABR works excellent in third person. Unfortunately, I'm not going to showcase the SkySA or the ABR in first person mods. We're going to just show you what it's like to fight them with vanilla first person animations. And when I say vanilla, I mean FPCAO. I'm not sure why, but with ABR, it seems like the bash does not actually cancel enemy attacks sometimes. It could be just a difference of timing. One thing to note is that the third-person animations and these, the animations that both the player and the NPCs are going to use, they have different attack speeds than what your actual weapon multiplier speed is. So, one thing to note is that if you have certain attacks that have very little telegraph or very quick animations, they'll actually make NPCs attack faster, depending on what the type of animation is. Now, if they have something like Warhammer, it will slow down that animation, but if it's already a very fast attack with minimal telegraph, you will be punished very severely for giving it to an NPC. So that's one thing to note if you're going to use custom animations, which I will showcase later in another video. But this one is comparing baseline, the latest version of ABR, versus the latest version of SkySA, as well as vanilla. And here we have the SkySA showcase. So for this one, I'm not going to go over the attacks. It's pretty much the same. Or it's not the same as ABR, but these are going to be based off Elder Soul's animation, which you've already seen in my previous videos. And the only real difference in the combat for SkySA is the combo power attacks. So if I do my light attack 1, then I'll do my power attack 2 after it, and then my light attack 2. And then if I do a power attack after that, it would be the power attack 3. So you can have multiple types of power attack animations associated with different light attack combos. I do have a CGO stripped on for the procedural leaning, so I think I accidentally left that a little too high for this clip, so you're gonna notice my character leaning quite a bit, as well as the NPCs. The latest version of SkySA uses most of the Elder Soul animations, and I think it actually looks the smoothest out of all of the combat behavior overhauls. Now, because enemies do have their own SkySA power attacks, I noticed that they tend not to use the regular power attacks anymore, and it's possible that even the directional power attacks are disabled with SkySA for both the player as well as the enemy NPCs. So that is one thing to take note of, because ABR keeps power attacks. So here's some first-person gameplay of SkySA. Again, you really want to be paying attention here to how the enemy NPCs are acting, more so than how the player is. The telegraph for both ABR and SkySA's vanilla animations, or unmodded animations, are pretty heavy. There's a pretty big telegraph so that you can see attacks coming. I like that power attack a lot, though. catch you off guard sometimes. So again, you're noticing that they're not really using their directional power attacks at all. And that, to me, is kind of a big downside for SkySA, because I really do enjoy, playing against the NPCs that are using their power attacks smartly to try and instant kill you. If you punish them, it gives a big opening, but if you get caught by it, you're screwed. These power attacks are very, very easy to counter. Now, going over the pros and cons of SkySA, we can see that some of the downsides are that the NPC attacks are heavily telegraphed. There's a lack of directional power attacks, which in my opinion reduces the difficulty of melee combat. Out of the box, attack variety is actually less than vanilla, and power attacks must be binded to a separate key. If we look at the pros, or the benefits, by default it uses the Elder Souls animation pack, and it has quite smooth weapon animations. It can use a huge diversity of animation movesets available on both the Nexus and private sources. The light attacks can be powered into power attacks for a huge combat variety depending on the moveset. All around, it's a very good combat mod for third person and first person combat, but with less challenges than vanilla. However, movesets can be modular and could increase the difficulty if you adjust weapon speeds, and if they are implemented further on in later versions of SkySA, this will reduce a lot of the telegraphing. Now, when it comes to the pros and cons of ABR, NPC custom animations may look out of place from ABR. This includes the gap close animation, as well as the combo attacks, and even the baseline vanilla attacks from the mod. It does also make adjustments to bashing and blocking behavior, which you might find uncanny, and must be paired with a recoil mod or something similar from Audrey for best results. When it comes to SkySA movesets, you can use them with ABR, however they must be converted to AMR, and their naming convention must be adjusted for ABR. They also may not retain the correct motion data and hit frames, so do be wary. That being said, you really can use the vast majority of SkySA movesets with ABR, which is fantastic. When it comes to the benefits, it has a huge variety of attacks based on conditionals. These are the gap closes, the combos, as well as NPC attacks based on skill level. It also retains directional power attacks, which I find increases the difficulty of combat. Dual wield and unarmed can both have a left hand and right hand attack, which can be chained together or individually. There are charged attacks as well as grip switching, which provides some versatility in combat. It is very good for third-person combat overall, but it loses much of its unique features in first-person, so I recommend it for third-person, and provides decent challenge, but again, the animations can look quite clunky or have ice skating issues. Now, when it comes to the pros and cons of vanilla animations, some of the detriments include that it has the least amount of animation replacers available on the Nexus and other public domains when compared to SkySA and ABR. It also lacks any attack commitment by default, which I say is essential for smooth third-person gameplay. Additionally, it needs extra mods to provide satisfying gameplay, and by default could use quite a bit of touch-ups. Now, as for the benefits, there's obviously no need to install any additional mods if you're just going for vanilla animations. It's very simple. If you've played Skyrim, you're already familiar with the mechanics, and there's nothing new added that could overcomplicate the game. It also could look pretty decent with the Eve ice skating fixed for real mod installed that removes the majority of ice skating with vanilla animations. Now, overall, it is terrible for third-person combat, in my opinion, but it does provide one of the best first-person experiences. By itself, vanilla animations are quite boring, but if you have combat mods such as Wildcat, Ultimate Combat, or 3 tweaks, you can change the combat AI as well as the movement record types, which can provide a simple yet challenging experience that I find is quite satisfying with my time in Requiem. As you can see, vanilla animation, SkySA, and ABR all have their own pros and cons, and really it's a matter of personal choice at the end of the day. I'm currently using vanilla animations, but to be honest, I'll probably switch back to SkySA in a later video when I want to showcase third-person combat again. I hope you guys found this video helpful, and if you would like for me to make more videos like this, please let me know in the comments below. See you guys next time.